Hello guys, welcome to my channel. V4 changes are finally out, so let's talk about them. Lighter and Yanagi received some significant changes, unfortunately nerfs as well. But before you doom post, just as a heads up, Yanagi and Lighter are still going to be okay, especially Yanagi because she is, was very strong to begin with, and even after these changes, she's still looking very strong. Let's start first with Lighter changes. Let's begin with his normal attack. He did receive some multiplier nerf. As you can see, the 5th finish damage got a bit reduced, but the 5th combo damage got a bit increased. So basically, they're just reducing a bit of his personal damage. His normal attack combo string within stance eruption also got changed. As you can see here, some of the days got reduced and a bit of it also increased, but overall, it should be lowered. They also have changed his chain attack ultimate multipliers for damage and days. The chain attack got nerfed a bit. Meanwhile, the multiplier for the ultimate got quite buffed. The ultimate multiplier change is quite very nice, but not something that you'll see the benefit right on his release, simply because we're still using one ultimate shared per team. But they're changing that in the near future where everybody will get to use their own ultimates as well. So Lighter in the future will get to use his ultimate, and this will definitely be a nice thing for him. They have also changed his core passive. Unfortunately, they nerfed the morale gain that you would gain from energy consumed by the on-field character. I'm not a big fan of this, but hey, it is what it is. But in return, I guess, they did increase the duration of the uplift buff from 15 seconds to 30 seconds. So it's going to be easier to maintain these stacks and stack it up to 20 times for that ice and fire damage boost. They did reduce the percentage though from 1% to 0.96%. I guess it's fine because in return they reduced the impact requirement from 175 to 150 as a starting point, and now after 150 impact for every 10 points of impact beyond that will increase the benefit provided by each stack of uplift by an additional 0.17% instead of 0.25. This will technically make it easier to get a significant amount of fire and ice damage boost, especially for using a V engine with a combat impact buff, such as Koleda's or A-rank Steam Oven engine, which they do provide combat impact buffs. They have also changed his V engine. Now the impact increase goes from 22% to 25%, and from a 6-second duration to 8-second duration. This change is quite nice because now you'll be able to get more impact for your ice and fire damage boost stacks from the passive. Also, they have increased the duration of the fatigue stacks from 15 seconds to 30, so it's going to be easier to maintain them. However, this V-engine did receive a bit of a nerf as well. Now the crit damage boost when you deal ice and fire attacks on enemies is increased by 2% instead of 2.5%. So 20 stacks, it's going to be 40% crit damage instead of 50. But I believe that's still alright. It's a 10% crit damage loss, but we do get more impact out of this V engine, which I think it's quite valuable. And also the duration of that impact buff being increased, I think it's pretty neat. Before we go into Yanagi, let's also go quickly over Lighter mindscape changes. His M1, as you can see on the screen, you will deal 30% more damage from his finishing blow after the morale is exhausted, which is okay, but overall the other parts of the effect where you have the fire damage resistance further reduced and all that stuff, and also where the stun extension is being increased from 3 to 5 seconds, that is all the same, nothing changed regarding that, so his M1 is still very good. His M2, they have reduce the target days vulnerability multiplier increase to 25%. However, now the ice and fire damage attribute boost provided by the uplift stacks has a higher cap. Instead of 80%, goes now to 125%. So if you can get a lot of impact on this guy with his V engine and so on, you could push for some high fire ice damage boost for your entire team. His M4 also received a bit of change. Now the cooldown, instead of 15 seconds, it's 18. And lastly, his mindscape M6 change. Feel free to read it if you want, because I don't really wanna put too much time into M6 or high dupes changes. That's not really what I promote on my channel, but feel free to read it out if you like to do so. Now let's talk about Yanagi changes. Let's start with her basic attack, upper chord. I never get this name right, so my apologies. Her multiplier values got shifted around. Some of the hits are getting increased days and damage. Some of them are getting lowered. And also the order stance of her basic attacks also received multiplier changes, as you can see on the screen. Also quite significant damage days multiplier nerfs for certain parts of her hits. As for the chain attack and ultimate, they also received some multiplier damage and days nerfs. They have also reduced the multipliers for X special attack, the days and damage. And now you might be asking yourself why they're nerfing these multipliers. I would say most likely because they don't want players to play crit Yanagi or mono electric teams with Yanagi, and they want to make sure you go play her in anomaly disorder teams. If you do that, it's gonna be all right. They also have changed the anomaly build up for Yanagi. The waxing stance and waning stance got some anomaly build up change. The special attack also got it changed, but do know that you're not really gonna use special attack. You're gonna be using the X special attack. X special attack overall did get buffed with more anomaly build-up. The chain attack got a bit reduced, and assist follow-up also reduced. So I think this is still all right. Overall, she should still have no problem at applying anomaly and all that stuff. There are freedom blues or other ways to reduce anomaly build-up resistance of enemies, so you should be fine at building up quick shock and all that stuff to trigger anomalies and disorders, so it should be okay. Now let's talk about the ultimate change. Now the ultimate also has the ability to trigger that special polar disorder effect, just like her X special skill, and also it does scale off 40% of Yanagi anomaly proficiency, which is pretty good. You will definitely want to have a lot of anomaly proficiency in her as much as you can, so you can get even more damage out of this. And also now, after using the ultimate, you can immediately go into the third segment of her basic attack chain, whichever stance you are, and go from there. I personally do like now that her ultimate can also trigger this special polar disorder and not just her skill. They've also changed her X special attack. Now the scaling, instead of 70% of her anomaly proficiency, it's going to be 40%. This is also for her ultimate now, as you've seen before. However, on the other hand, they did reduce the initial percentage, that it's going to be 18% instead of 25%, but I believe this is still all right because now it scales more of her anomaly proficiency, and as long as you build a lot of anomaly proficiency on Yanagi, you'll get the most out of this one. Unfortunately, they did nerf her core passive by a bit. The multiplier disorder damage increase went from 400% to 350%. This is an additive disorder damage multiplier, not multiplicative, so characters like Bernice would basically do less damage with this, but I believe it's probably gonna be about 10% lower damage for Bernice burn disorders or something like that. So it's still all right. It's still gonna be very strong, very good with Yanagi and Bernice. I believe this also happened because perhaps Hoyo thought that this character is a bit overtuned, and they just tuned it a bit down to make it more in line with other characters. They also have changed her V engine. Now, when anomaly proficiency is above 375, the disorder damage caused by the wielder is increased by 25% instead of 400 requirement, so it's gonna be easier to push this number, and perhaps you might not be forced to run, let's say, double AP set bonuses or something like that if you wanted to use something else such as double 8% penetration. Now you should be able to do that and still be able to reach 375 AP. And lastly, now let's also go quickly over her mindscape changes. Her her M1 got the duration of the stacks changed from 10 seconds to 15 seconds with a maximum of 3 stacks instead of 2. That means that now you can get more anomaly proficiency from this M1 as well because you have an extra stack. Her M2 also received some changes. The electric anomaly build-up rate after using X special attack has been reduced from 20% to 15%. They also have nerfed the multiplier boost for the polarity disorder effect from her M2. Instead of 45%, it went down to 25%, and the additional thrust attacks that would increase the multiplier by an extra 5%, it went to 2.5%, and additional damage increase can be triggered now up to 2 times instead of 4. I believe they also nerfed this because perhaps they really don't want you to play mono-electric teams, because before with M2, a mono-electric team would probably work better thanks to this multiplier, but right now I would definitely not recommend going mono-electric stuff. And also your M6 received some changes. Feel free to pause the video because I don't really want to double too much on mindscape changes, especially the high mindscapes, so feel free to pause if you want to see it. So yeah, overall with Yanagi, I believe she's in a good spot right now. I don't think she's overtuned or anything like that. I don't expect any further nerfs or anything like that. She's gonna be definitely in a good spot. They did nerf those motion values, probably because miHoyo didn't want people to build her on crit, and also to make sure you focus fully on AP builds. And also now the ultimate can also trigger polarity disorder besides the skill, so that definitely improves the damage. Personally, I would say that with Yanagi, she has pretty good personal damage, especially thanks to that polarity disorder change, so she's not as reliant on teammates' anomaly aura and can still do some good damage on her own as long as you build on anomaly proficiency. As for Lighter, I think he's also gonna be in a good spot. Definitely his V engine is a big deal for him, so he can get more impact, and it's gonna be a question how good is he gonna be without his V engine. But even without it, I think he's gonna be all right. And also to have a good grasp of how Lighter is actually going to be good for us, we definitely need to see that 1.4 character teammate that's definitely gonna be good for Lighter, and we'll see from there how he's gonna end up being. So yeah, I guess this is it for this video. If you have any questions or anything like that, feel free to ask me down in the comments, or even better, feel free to ask me on my streams. I stream every single day on Twitch/YouTube. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. I also do honky style content besides Zenless Zone Zero, so more content of both games to come. And yeah, this is it. I wish you a wonderful day and see you in the next video.